lovers, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And welcome to our discussion and breakdown of episode 9 of She-Hulk called Whose Show Is This?
Right?
You thumb bitches. You swung wildly for the fences and pointed out that the internet's going to have a hissy fit.
Right.
And I love this episode.
Yeah.
Now, I will preface everything we're about to say with Monty Python and the Holy Grail's ending is one of my favorite endings of all time.
Right.
And I love Sopranos' ending. I love the ending of Angel and all that kind of ambiguous endings of things I really love.
Yeah.
So this finale hit me so pitch perfect. And I understand why people are not going to like it, because people don't like the Monty Python Holy Grail ending at all. But this is a complete homage to that. From my point of view, I don't know if that was in the writer's room or whatever. From my point of view, this was Holy Grail.
I mean, I feel like it was just continuing to troll the people on the internet and what they were going to say. Oh, by the way, this was filmed before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this isn't like they didn't film it week to week, so they knew that the internet was going to have a hissy fit about this and that and this and that, and they pointed it all out along the way. We saw last week how Jen broke the fourth wall a lot more than she had previously. Right. And then in this one, it was just like, let me kapow, kick the fourth wall down and go through it and go talk to Kevin.
When they go, spoilers if you haven't figured that out by now. When they go to the load screen for Disney Plus,
and you're like, wait, what? Just okay, the show's still going. All right,
but I just like, and then they go to Kevin, which is just a robot watching all of the MCU, which is with a baseball cap, by the way,
right?
Which is just also pitch perfect. I haven't had a cocktail yet. But even in that little thing, Jen talks about the MCU and how they always have the same big fight scene finale thing and all the father issues that are dealt with, and like even in that, they're trolling the internet by pointing out all the things the internet has complained about the MCU.
Yep.
This whole show has been about two things. One has been the treatment of women in society today.
Right.
Hard stop past, no, you're not going past no collecting $200. That is what the show is.
Right.
The other part of the show is pointing out to the trolls on the internet, soups, who just watch the show for the gotcha moments and don't actually engage in the story being told, and pointing a giant magnifying glass at those people, and they still overreacted to the show. I love this show for all of that. We talk about it a lot around here. 1, engage in the stories being told. 2, love your fandom.
Right.
Sure, you can be critical of your fandom, and sure there was some times in the show overall where I was just like, I don't know what we're doing right now, but I'm going to go with it until we get there. But I'm sorry. This show was made for the bro dudes, and they even had a bro dude conference in this episode.
Right. Yep.
And I know a bunch of those bro dudes are going to be on the internet right now, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, talking about how they didn't resolve any of the Hulk King stuff or why they were going for her blood. They didn't resolve any of that. You're missing the point. And I'm here for everything.
And it's a show. Like they've removed all of the walls, right? It is a show, and everybody in it, or at least Jen, knows that it's a show. It's not
I
real
think
life.
Nikki thinks it's a show. Knows it's a show too, because she
Yeah,
breaks the
maybe at
fourth
this
wall.
point.
Because
Yeah.
she's a couple times where she looks at the camera, looks at us at the audience
Yeah,
when
yeah.
something happens.
Now, I think
Yeah.
it's been after being around Jen or
Jen, yeah,
whatever
yeah.
to point it out, but it's no, you don't. It was resolved for them in the show,
Right.
and that's all you get.
So I love the opening where first they start with the Jen Walters, the Savage She-Hulk homage to the Incredible Hulk from the 70s.
The TV show. Yep.
And I just love that they cold opened with that.
Yeah.
Actually, they did the Marvel logo and then cut it short and started with that.
Yeah.
And they even brought the same guy from, or at least the guy who sounds like the narrator from the show.
Yeah.
And then they started doing narration and later on, and Jen's like, no, I'm not having that kind of breakdown. So just starting with that, and kind of it's not kind of, it's a complete homage, wink and a nod to the audience about that show.
Yeah.
The kind of the ridiculous of that show, although it was fun and everybody loved it for what it was. It was definitely like, we're going to go plaid.
Yeah.
We've gone past ridiculous in the last few episodes. Now we're going into plaid.
And it's a show, right? It's a show within a show within a show.
Within the thing.
Malkovich.
Right. And then we get Jen just kind of going through the process of she wakes up in Emil's prison cell, and Nikki and I can never remember the other lawyer's name, and Pug all show up, and there's a plea deal, and they'll let her out as long as she doesn't become the Hulk ever again. Kind of the same deal that Emil got
right
for Abomination. And so,
and she loses her job,
and that whole process of now she's no longer the She-Hulk. HL and K don't want to have her anymore,
right?
And because she can't be She-Hulk,
right?
And so, and then she loses her house and has to move in back with mom and dad. So it's this like, it made sense storytelling wise for the ramifications of her actions in the previous episode.
Yeah,
is that they wanted to get this unhinged version of her out there to put her on ice essentially. They iced her. They pretty much just iced her, and that is something that happens. It's a term that's been brought up because they killed. I can't remember the character's name. I think it was Spider-Man. I think anyways, in one of the comics, they killed one of the main character's love interest, and they put her in the freezer. And it became a term within the industry of killing off a major female character or the love interest of a male character to drive his story along,
right?
Because she died.
Right.
So here they killed She-Hulk. They iced her,
right?
To push forward Hulk King's story, which is the whole process of her trying to figure out who Hulk King is,
right?
And the intelligentsia ends up being Todd, which we all knew,
right?
But
maybe it isn't. I don't know.
They make a point of arresting him at the end, and that she is cleared of all charges.
Right.
So at least that is them saying, yes, it was Todd trying to do stuff.
Yes, but there could be another bigger, badder for season 2.
And I think ultimately Todd is running the website Intelligentsia, and he is the one who's been trying to get her blood, but he's trying to get it for somebody else.
Yeah.
And he even in the false ending that we get, he has this, I had to earn my superhero abilities,
right?
And he injects the blood.
Right. And how exactly did you?
By being a dick. There's a really good thing on TikTok right now. They talk about SEAL Team 6 and how the people that they're looking for, and how people who are
to be part of SEAL Team 6.
to be part of SEAL Team 6 and what kind of character they're picking. And Todd's that untrustworthy, like I won't trust you with my wife or my wallet,
right.
but he's a high earner, gets everything that which they kind of pointed out that he spent $1 million on a Wakandan spear.
Right.
So
right.
he's that kind of douchebag kind of thing. Right.
He can get stuff done, but like you said, you wouldn't trust him with your wife or your kids.
Right. And so it kind of makes complete sense that he is, but I also think that he is working for somebody, the Grand Intelligence, the leader or whatever. I think that would ultimately come. But that whole Abomination showing up at the Intelligentsia Brodu conference thing
because it was at his compound.
Right.
I mean, when they showed it, I was like, this is the inside of where they were all sitting around having their
group therapy session.
Yeah, there you go. I was like their AA meeting, but their group therapy session.
We're going to a group therapy session this weekend.
We are.
But that whole scene is Pug infiltrates and Nikki's on the phone telling him what to say.
Pug's the worst bro to be in. Nikki has to bro for Pug
because she's the one. If you ever saw Black Klansman, they kind of did this the Black Klansman thing where one person on the internet was talking all this smack, and then they have to send somebody else in because the person talking on the smack is black. And you can't go to the KKK meetings. That's a really good movie. That's super underrated. You should watch that movie.
John David
Washington, Adam Driver, directed by Spike Lee. Yes. But the whole conversation they're having, that Pug's standing there. There's one of the guys is like, we've got a She-Hulk and now we got a female Thor, and why can't we just have male characters? And it's not that I hate on them. It's just
exactly what you're saying. It's hating on them,
which is everything that's been going on the internet the entire time of this show.
It's not that I'm against women, but they just need to be in their place.
Right.
You're totally against women.
Same conversation is being had about those of the LGBTQ family. I'll say family. Those of people of different color, of different race, of different ethnicities.
It's not that I'm against black people.
Right.
I just don't want a black mermaid.
Right. Or a black president. But you got an orange one instead.
Welcome to our political talk about
because the show. It's kind of hard not to poke at it a little bit because the show has been directly political, just much like how Falcon and Winter Soldier was, but for a different kind of version.
It's been targeting the trolls on the internet, which I think is amazing because I'm and I don't even listen to it. I get a lot of it from him, but just it kind of spoils the fun of what you're watching because you're like in the back of your head, you're like, oh, they're gonna have a field day with this, and so it's awesome that they just
leaned into it.
Kevin Feige and the whole Marvel team just went, we're just gonna point it out every single time something happens. This is gonna be on the internet, and and point it out, and they'll still do it, but at least there's no more elephant in the room. Everybody's aware of it now.
Right. And it's something that Disney is doing as a whole too. This show was already in the process when all the things happened with Moses Ingram around a Kenobi series and her portrayal of Reva. And Disney Direct, Disney's Twitter page is freaking amazing. And everybody around that show circled the wagons around her.
Yeah.
Because they didn't when it happened to Callie Mary Chan.
Right.
And what happened with John Boyega and kind of all of that kind of happened. And so Disney learned, or Lucas and Marvel and Disney as a whole, as a parent company, learned from their mistakes there. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying they're right all the time, but they've definitely made a point of circling the wagons around their people instead of just ignoring it. They're pointing it out. They just spent 9 episodes pointing it out.
Yep.
And I'm here for it.
Yep.
But I love to stop. There's Abominations fighting and Hulk shows up. Where have you been? We'll get to that in a minute. and they start fighting, and then Todd hulks out, and a really bad rendering of Todd as a Hulk, which I think is on purpose.
Dude.
He's Dude from Free Guy. From Free Guy.
Dude.
And Jen's like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand how this, like,
how is this my ending?
How is this the end? Like, all of these guys, all of these other people are fighting, and I can't because I got this thing on my it inhibits my powers.
Yeah.
They're all fighting to have this big spectacular fight thing at the end, and it has nothing to do with me.
Right. And it's, whose show is it anyway?
Right. And then from there she stops the show and does the Monty Python Holy Grail ending with going to the screen, and then she goes to Marvel Studios. She goes to the writers' room, which I just love that they played with the writers' room idea.
Yeah.
They're all talking about, well, what if season 2 was just a dream sequence? I'm like, are we doing Dallas? like what? And them pointing out, like, nobody talks to Kevin. I will kill for Kevin. I'm like, and then they take, they go up to Kevin's office. And they signed this. Okay, just the joke for the disclaimer for the NDA is like scroll.
And she's an attorney. She knows better. She should read that NDA.
and she finally signed it, and then they call the alarm, and then she hulks out, and she's already hulked out, and she goes in, and Kevin is a robot, and I that whole process is just them talking about what we kind of mentioned about with the way the MCU is kind of at times pigeonholed itself with the way things are ended, or at least conversations of how they're done, and pointing out their own flaws, pointing out their own warts in that whole conversation, and then Jen, because it's her universe, choosing how the ending should be.
Yeah.
And then there was a discussion of a movie. There was a discussion of season 2. Like,
apparently the movie's not happening because she was like, "Oh, I'll be in the movie," and they were like,
"No." I don't. At this point in time, I don't know. I would not be surprised if she doesn't show up at least in Secret War.
Yeah, because that's gonna kind of be
that's gonna be everybody
end game of the new.
Yeah, and there's nothing saying that she won't show up as Jen. Jen Walters may show up in the Daredevil series too, because they set up that kind of continuing relationship.
Yeah,
with Matt
her dad was already talking babies, so
right, and how to raise children in LA. And I love Matt's comment. Jen came over and finally sat next to him, and Jen was in. And Matt's like, "Thank you. I need a save here." And she's like, "Just welcome to my family. This is just every conversation is going to go this way."
Yep.
The ending ends up being a Fast and the Furious ending.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other way of putting it.
Yeah, they're having a Fast and Furious dinner.
It's the Fast and Furious dinner, and the originator of the Fast and the Furious, Dominic, shows up with his son. The originator of the Hulk family, it shows up with his son from Sakaar, of Scar. So we all thought he was going to Sakaar for something else. There was always this background thing that his son is there.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk that he was going to get his son or get his son out of trouble or whatever.
Right. Yeah. So that's very interesting that they introduce him and Hulk, and now we have She-Hulk, and Abomination goes back to his prison.
Camouflage with Wong.
Well, he was in prison, and then Wong shows up.
Right.
We're living in the Wong cinematic universe, and he goes to Camouflage. So we have 4 Hulks running around right now.
Yep.
World War Hulk could be something that could happen.
Yeah.
And so, especially if you get Thaddeus Ross, who ends up being the Red Hulk, and we have the Thunderbolts kind of laying out in front. We know that's coming.
Yeah.
They're recasting Thaddeus. The rumor right now is Harrison Ford.
I
don't know how I feel about that, but they do need somebody of that kind of 60s, 70s age kind of thing.
Yeah, so I was
have it currently set up.
Were we talking about this last time when I was like, yeah, because William Hurt was in that 90s reunion movie where they, and I can't remember what the name of the
where
movie
they go on,
is.
yeah.
So Kevin Kline, I think, is one of the other actors in there. He hasn't done anything
I don't know.
in a long time. That would be interesting.
I
Like
always
somebody from kind of that era, the
right, right.
90s, with the hot actors of the night, like um oh my god, I was just looking on his Instagram. uh Footloose.
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon. As soon as I said Footloose, I was like, Kevin Bacon would be hysterical
Kevin
after
Bacon
the
would be awesome.
Galaxy.
However, the
Guardians-
problem with Kevin Bacon is that he was now part of the MCU as a different character because all the well, I don't know. He's in X-Men First Class as the guy who absorbs all the power, all the energy and stuff like that, and focuses it back on somebody else.
Is he?
Yeah, he's the big villain in that one.
All right.
But yes, I like that Kevin Bacon kind of idea. But again, I've been on the Thaddeus Ross's son taking over and being the kind of the
yeah. Then you could it could be anybody.
it could be a younger-ish actor, or somebody in their 40s or whatever. But again, it way they laid out everything that kind of the end of the show, it opens up a ton of stuff to go forward. Even though we got a resolution for Jen being herself and being and she even points it out in this episode. I finally get to a point where I'm comfortable being Jen and She-Hulk.
Yep.
And now I can't be She-Hulk anymore.
Yep.
And then once they get the resolution of all the charges being dropped and the lawsuit against Todd, she's rehired HL&K or whatever the law firm is, and I'm just gonna call it something different every time to see if anybody notices.
HLJK.
She goes to walk in, and the news reporter's there, and asks her, now that the charges have been dropped, are you gonna? What are you gonna do now? She's like, I'm gonna defend the people who need to be defended. And he asks her as She-Hulk or with the law, and she turns both. And then he asks, who are you wearing? Because nothing changes.
Right.
Ultimately, that this person who has power both as a Hulk and power as a lawyer, a good lawyer, probably a really, really good lawyer, they still want to point out it's a woman. She needs to look nice. Who are you wearing?
Yeah, I think they ask the guys that now too.
They've gotten better about that now.
But I felt it was kind of more of a media. They love her, they hate her, they love her, they hate her, and now they're back to and it's just within a 24-hour news cycle, suddenly you're back up on top, and then suddenly you're the worst thing ever, and then
it's fairly funny that's because that actually is a conversation that was being had this week about some other properties going on around, not specifically Marvel, but just the fandom as a whole is kind of starting to point out that this thing is terrible, this thing is amazing, and then people are done with it being amazing, so they start picking it apart, and then everybody jumps on the bandwagon, and then it sucks again. That it sucks, and then the bandwagon. Everybody jumps off that bandwagon because there's a really good episode, and everybody jumps back on.
Yeah,
it's kind of going on with what's happening with the House of the Dragon. You had Game of Thrones, who did really, really well, amazingly well for 4 seasons of 5 seasons, and then didn't fall off completely off the edge, but wasn't as good as the previous seasons. And people said it's the worst thing ever.
Right.
And then when they said House of the Dragon's coming in, everybody's all like, this show is just going to make, it's going to be bad or whatever. And now everybody can't stop talking about how good this show is. Yep. And so it's just that's cyclical king for the day, pretty much. Yep. I'm just going to make all the group therapy references tonight.
Okay.
Anything else about this episode? I'm sure we're missing some stuff, but
no.
All right. No new She-Hulk episode next week. Go get caught up on House of the Dragon and Andor. Our reviews are in the description down below. So let us know what you thought of this show. this episode and what Marvel just did to all of us in the comments down below. Please be nice. It's a requirement around here. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Follow us on all the social media stuff, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links are in the description down below. And until next time, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.